Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. India is about to sign its biggest ever weapons deal. New Delhi is buying more than 100 fighter jets, missiles, patrol planes and air defences all in one package. The price tag is touching $40 billion. And with these purchases, India is sending a strategic message, especially to Pakistan and China. Tonight, we'll break down the numbers and the message. Also on the show, how the US is targeting India's neighbourhood for defence deals. The latest from Bangladesh, where it was voting day today, and as we speak, counting is on. We'll also discuss how Google is letting go of employees who won't adapt to the AI age, why India has changed the way it measures inflation, what Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu discussed at the White House, and why Russia has banned WhatsApp. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. China calls Taiwan's leader Lai Ching-te a war instigator. This comes after Lai warned that Beijing would target countries in the region if it seizes control of Taiwan. China claims the self-ruled island as part of its territory and has threatened to use force to bring Taiwan under its control. Political turmoil in Kyrgyzstan as the parliament speaker resigns. This is part of a purge by the president to remove the supporters of his one-time close ally whom he dismissed on Tuesday. Several people close to the country's ousted security chief have also been detained. Brazil's President Lula da Silva to visit India from February 18th to 22nd. He will hold bilateral talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his state visit. He will also participate in the second AI summit being held in New Delhi. This visit comes as Brazil looks to reduce its dependence on traditional partners like the US and China. Manchester United co-owner Jim Ratcliffe apologises after saying that the UK has been colonised by immigrants. The billionaire businessman claimed large-scale immigration had harmed the British economy. The remarks had led to an outcry, with Prime Minister Keir Starmer joining calls urging Ratcliffe to apologise. And Colombia declares a state of emergency after floods kill 18 people and displaced thousands. Overflowing rivers submerged homes in the country's northern cattle belt. The emergency decree allows President Gustavo Petro to act without congressional approval. It's the biggest arms deal in India's history. Nearly $40 billion, more than 100 fighter jets, missiles, patrol planes and air defences. Basically, a comprehensive upgrade to India's military power. And it's coming just 8 months after India's Operation Sindoor. The idea is to replenish and expand our arsenal. So what exactly is the military looking to buy? How much will it cost? And how will it improve our capabilities? The latest package was approved by the DAC, that's the Defence Acquisition Council. It's the body that clears India's big-ticket arms deals. This one is worth 3.6 lakh crore rupees, which is nearly $40 billion. And what are we buying? The most significant item is the Rafale fighter jet. India wants to buy 114 of these planes. 18 of them will be bought off the shelf from France. The remaining will be assembled in India. Well, that's the proposal that New Delhi is pushing. Beyond this, a few other deals have also been cleared. India is set to buy interceptors for its S-400 air defense system. We deployed this weapon, the S-400, against Pakistan last year. The S-400 was used to shoot down Pakistani planes and missiles, so it's time to replenish them. Plus, India will buy 6 Boeing P-8I maritime patrol planes. The Indian Navy already operates 12 of these. The goal is to expand this fleet. Reports say the 6 planes will cost around $3 billion. Of course, all these are the sideshows. The big spotlight remains on the Rafales. I'll give you some quick background. The Rafale is a 4.5th generation fighter jet. It is made by France's Dassault Aviation. These planes have advanced avionics and sensors. They can be used for long-range strikes. The jets are fitted with different types of missiles. You've got the Meteor air-to-air missiles. You've got the Scalp long-range cruise missiles. You've got the Hammer long-range munition and the Exocet anti-ship missiles. The Rafales can be fitted with all of these. So it's a pretty comprehensive package. More importantly, the Indian military already uses them. The Air Force operates 36 Rafale jets. The Navy has placed an order for 26 naval versions. 26 naval versions of the Rafale. These are well integrated and battle tested. India deployed Rafale jets against Pakistan last year. We used the Scalp missiles to hit terror infrastructure across the border. Plus, they could soon be fitted with Indian weapons, specifically the next-gen BrahMos missiles, which is probably why the government went with the Rafales, because we use these planes already. And France is a trusted partner. France is offering to make in India. So all in all, it's a good proposal. The question is, what happens next? Well, the timing is appropriate. French President Emmanuel Macron is visiting India next week. It's the perfect chance to negotiate a government-to-government deal. We don't have a timeline yet, but such massive military deals tend to take time, months if not years. There is also the question of technology transfer. Dassault has tied up with the Tata Group in India. They're setting up a plant in Hyderabad. It is expected to produce Rafale fuselages by 2028. We'll have to see how much of the production actually is done in India. But beyond the terms and the timelines, what is the message here? What are the key takeaways from this deal? We can outline two main ones. First, India wants to expand its fleet fast, and I want to underline the word fast. You see, the Indian Air Force is dealing with a two-front challenge. You've got Pakistan to the west and China to the east. Our sanctioned squadron strength is 42. One squadron has around 16 to 18 fighter jets, and India has sanctioned 42 of these. But how many are actually operational? Just 29 squadrons. Out of the 42 sanctioned, only 29 are operational. To put this in perspective, Pakistan has 25 fighter squadrons. China is said to have around 50. What's worse, a lot of Indian jets will soon retire. The Jaguars, the MiG-29s, the Mirages, they will retire in the next decade. That's half of India's fleet gone. So where are the replacements? Our homegrown Tejas jet is running behind schedule. If we wait for them, India will fall behind. It may take us until 2040 to reach 42 squadrons. So what is the solution? Buy from outside. That's where the Rafales come in. We must see this as a quick solution to a long-term problem, which brings us to the second takeaway. India has chosen to not buy a fifth-generation jet. This is a 4.5th generation, not a fifth-generation jet. And this has also been a huge debate. China has deployed two fifth-generation warplanes. Pakistan is looking to buy these from Beijing. Plus, India had two offers on the table. The Americans wanted to sell us the F-35 jets. The Russians wanted to sell us the Su-57. And yet, India is buying more than 100 4.5th generation planes. So what's the message here? For starters, neither plane fit the bill. Neither the F-35 nor the Su-57. The American F-35 would not integrate well with India's existing arsenal, and the Russian plane's stealth capabilities are debatable. At the same time, both these options are very expensive. So instead of buying a few fifth-generation jets, India is going for a larger Rafale deal. Just do the math. 114 jets make up around 7 squadrons. As for the fifth-gen planes, India is betting on its homegrown project. The prototype is expected by 2028 and it is expected to enter production by 2034, India's own fifth-gen fighter jet. Until then, we seem to be betting on the Rafale. It's a calculated decision by the Indian government. We should have more clarity after President Macron's visit. India's neighbourhood seems to be a hot spot right now. If you want to sell weapons, this is the place to be. And one country is looking to capitalize. That's the United States of America. Washington wants to sell more weapons to India and Bangladesh. We look at India first. The State Department says it wants a robust defense partnership with India. They say multiple deals are in the pipeline.
We will expand that. We have also some potential purchases of weapon systems in the pipeline that will help India to protect itself better, ensure its sovereignty, also will create American jobs, be good for both sides. So we have a number of things in the pipeline, and I think that momentum has continued despite some of the uncertainties around trade.
We mentioned one of those. India has approved the purchase of 6 Boeing patrol planes. It's a deal expected to cost around $3 billion. Beyond that, what is America selling? Well, last November 2025, Washington approved a $93 million deal. They're selling Javelin missiles and Excalibur artillery shells to India. Then a month later, in December, India received 3 Apache attack helicopters. This deal was signed way back in 2020. The first 3 choppers arrived in early 2025. The final 3 arrived in December. Another key purchase was the MQ-9 killer drone. India bought 31 of these drones for $3.5 billion. They are expected to be delivered by 2031. Beyond these, India also operates American transport planes like the Boeing Globemaster. Now, if you look at the numbers, the trade has been growing. From 2007 to 2012, the US made up just 3% of India's arms imports. 3%. From 2019 to 2024, they made up 13%. In the same time, Russia's share has fallen from 78% to 36%. Today, America is the 3rd largest arms supplier to India, only behind Russia and France. Both India and the US are betting on this relationship. Last October, they signed a 10-year defense roadmap agreement. That too in the middle of trade tensions, a 10-year agreement. For the US, this is a chance to secure investments in their defense sector. It's also an opportunity to drive a wedge between India and Russia. And for India, this is a chance to diversify supplies, also to secure some local production, which brings us to Bangladesh. In the past, Dhaka has relied on Chinese weapons. They bought their weapons from Beijing. Since 2002, Beijing has supplied 72% of Dhaka's hardware. Right now, they're also in talks with China's iron brother Pakistan. Dhaka is eyeing the JF-17 Thunder fighter jets. These jets are a joint production, a joint Pakistan-China product. And the US is not too happy about this. Listen to what Washington's envoy to Dhaka said.
The United States is concerned about growing Chinese influence in South Asia and is committed to working closely with the Bangladeshi government to clearly communicate the risk of certain types of engagement with China. The U.S. offers a range of options to help Bangladesh meet its military capability needs, including U.S. systems and those from allied partners, to provide alternatives to Chinese systems.
That's a clear warning to the incoming government. Do not get too close to China. If you want weapons, we can provide them. And this is not a surprise. Earlier this week, Bangladesh signed a trade deal with the United States. Washington promised 0 tariffs on Dhaka's garment exports. In return, Dhaka reportedly promised to reduce its reliance on China. The question is, what game is America playing here? Why are they so keen on selling weapons in South Asia? Well, the obvious factor is China. Beijing is eyeing a foothold in Bangladesh. They want to use Bangladesh to access the Bay of Bengal. Meanwhile, for India, China is a strategic rival, which is why the US is keen on both markets, India and Bangladesh. The Americans are keen to sell to both. They want to build binding long-term ties with both Delhi and Dhaka. But there are 2 challenges here. The first is the cost. As of now, Bangladesh is categorized as a least developed country. Their main focus should be fighting poverty. Can they afford to splurge on expensive US weapons? Historically, America has sold weapons to affluent countries like those in Europe and West Asia. Bangladesh has a much smaller checkbook. So that's going to be the first challenge, the cost. The second challenge is reliability, and that's the biggest worry for India too. both political and strategic reliability. Just consider India's jet engine deal with Washington. New Delhi bought engines from General Electric for its Tejas jet. The delivery is running way behind schedule. And without those engines, you cannot supply the planes. That's one of the main reasons for the Tejas delays. And same on the political side. President Donald Trump is a volatile partner. Look at what he did yesterday. Trump once again claimed credit for ending the India-Pakistan conflict. He says around 10 jets were downed in the fighting last year.
I settled 8 wars. Of the 8 wars, at least 6 were settled because of tariffs. And they said, well, what does this have to do? I said, you're going to be charged, like India and Pakistan. It would have been a nuclear war, in my opinion. They were really going at it. 10 planes were shot down. They were going at it.
Well, if there's more fighting, can we trust Donald Trump? Can we expect him to honor his commitments? In his first term, he became notorious for abandoning allies. First, the Afghan civilian regime, then the Kurdish fighters in Syria, and in his second term, he has already abandoned Ukraine. So can we trust Trump to hold up his end of the bargain? With Bangladesh, Washington's arm twisting may work, but India has strategic wiggle room. If it's a good deal, India will take it. If not, expect pushback. It was election day in Bangladesh today. The people have voted and now counting is underway. Some trends have already started to come in. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party, the BNP, has taken an early lead. The result is expected by tomorrow. Now this, as we've been saying, is one of the most important elections in the history of Bangladesh. The first since Sheikh Hasina's ouster. That was 18 months ago. August 2024 is when she was ousted. So the world has been watching the build up to this day and how it has unfolded. Voting appeared to be largely peaceful with a few disturbing incidents. For instance, there were reports of a crude bomb explosion in central Bangladesh. There were also reports of irregularities in 140 polling centers. We've not been able to verify these independently, these reports, but we can say that Bangladesh is tense. Nearly 1 million law enforcement personnel have been deployed across the country. They will remain on duty till the 14th of February. This is an extended deployment because the risk of political violence is still high. Let's also look at the voter turnout. As of 2 p.m. today, it stood at 48%. Nearly 2,000 candidates are in the fray. They're fighting for 300 seats in the Bangladeshi parliament. This includes 275 independent candidates, 80 from the minority Hindu community and 85 women. The fight is between 2 major blocs. The front runner is the BNP, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. It is contesting on 292 of the total 300 seats. This party is led by Tariq Rahman. He is the son of former President Ziaur Rahman and former Prime Minister Khalida Zia. Today, Rahman said that his party would accept the election results, but only if the polls are free and fair.
If the election is free, if it is fair, if it is without controversy, then why would we not accept it? Of course we will accept it. All parties will accept it. But there is one condition here. The election must be neutral. The election must be peaceful.
He also referred to reports of irregularities in polling. He said there were some unwanted incidents and attempts to mislead voters. But Rahman was also cautious in his assessment. Perhaps he wants to wait for the result before taking a harder position on the irregularities. He also said that the results should be declared quickly. Now, Rahman's biggest opponent is the Jamaat-e-Islami. This is the hardline Islamist party of Bangladesh. It was banned under Sheikh Hasina for more than a decade. Yunus lifted the ban after Hasina's ouster, and the Jamaat has made a comeback in this election. After Hasina's fall, the Jamaat mobilized its forces in huge numbers. Some polls indicate that they could make big gains and emerge as a significant force after this election. This has also led to widespread concerns because of the Jamaat's history. In 1971, the Jamaat-e-Islami actively opposed Bangladesh's independence. They even collaborated with Pakistan's military against their own people. They tried to crush the pro-independence movement. They committed large-scale atrocities against Bangladeshi civilians. So their comeback has also raised concerns. The Jamaat is known for their hardline Islamist politics. They oppose the participation of women in politics, although their manifesto says otherwise. The party has not fielded even a single woman candidate. Today, the Jamaat's leader stuck to his message of change while casting his vote.
It is a turning point, and we are waiting for that point. Inshallah, people's demand change, they desire change. We also desire the change.
Then we have the Awami League, the party of Sheikh Hasina, the party that led Bangladesh to independence. For the first time in 30 years, the Awami League is not contesting an election. The party's election symbol is a boat. It was not on the ballot paper today. That's because the Awami League was banned last year. The Election Commission suspended their registration. Today, party leaders criticized the election process. They said it was neither free nor fair. And a few hours ago, Sheikh Hasina spoke too. The Awami League issued a statement in her name, in Sheikh Hasina's name, and the statement is scathing. It calls the election a farce. It accuses Mohammed Yunus of seizing power illegally. Sheikh Hasina says people's voting rights have been ignored. She levels some serious charges in the statement. She claims that polling centers were seized, votes were bought, and Awami League voters were attacked. She's also made a list of demands, 5 demands. First, Hasina wants this election to be cancelled. Second, she has demanded the resignation of Mohammed Yunus. Third, she wants all detained Awami League members to be released. The statement calls them political prisoners. Fourth, the ban on the Awami League should be lifted. That's what she wants. And fifth, Hasina wants fresh elections to be called, but this time under a neutral caretaker government. Now, these are explosive allegations. And, of course, there will be a response. Clearly, the story is far from over, which also brings me to Mohammed Yunus, the interim leader of Bangladesh, the man who banned the Awami League and brought back the Jamaat. Yunus cast his vote in Dhaka today, and he called it a day of liberation.
This is a day of great joy for all of us. Today marks the birthday of a new Bangladesh. Throughout the day, we will celebrate this occasion. Through this, we have rejected the past, a truly nightmarish past. We will vote for the candidates, but the referendum is very important. I urge all to take part in the referendum so that we can build a new Bangladesh. This is a day of utmost joy in my life.
Yunus too is on the ballot this time, but not as a candidate. He is holding a referendum. The people of Bangladesh are voting on his reform agenda. So electors had to cast 2 votes today, one for their representative who goes to the parliament and one for the referendum, 2 votes. This referendum is on the reforms proposed by Mohammed Yunus. There were as many as 47 reforms on the ballot. The agenda is quite wide and ambitious. It includes the creation of new constitutional bodies and the setting up of a bicameral parliament, which means the creation of 2 separate houses in parliament. Right now, Bangladesh has only 1. Yunus wants 2. Plus, there are 30 other charter reforms, including term limits for prime ministers, more power for the president, and other broader changes in the way the government functions. And how do voters choose? They do not get 47 separate decisions. They get a single yes or no vote. It's a take it or leave it. What if voters support some reforms but oppose the others? Well, there is no way to pick and choose. Only one vote to decide the fate of Bangladesh. That is what Yunus spent 18 months preparing for, a sweeping reform package. And he did not execute even a single reform in this list. Instead, he's passed the buck to the voters. 47 reforms packaged into one confusing referendum. Here is how voters in Dhaka see this.
The feeling is good. I'm a first-time voter. I'm gonna give vote to one person. They're gonna change our country, and they change everything for our government, our study materials, and we're gonna go anywhere for free.
The election has been reduced to a game between only the center right and the right wing and the extreme right factions. So there is no options for me to vote for. So I have no reason to take part in the election.
No.
You will not vote this time?
No.
Why?
This is an illegal government. It has no validity. It will be a terrorist and vandal government.
New Delhi is closely watching these developments. India was invited to send election observers by Dhaka, but India chose to send none. The Ministry of External Affairs confirmed this today, and it signals a cautious approach by New Delhi.
Sorry, we did receive an invitation for sending observers. We have not sent our observers to Bangladesh to observe the elections.
This is a big moment for Bangladesh. It is not just choosing a new leader, it is choosing the path that will shape the country. Like I said, the result day is tomorrow. We will be tracking this space for you closely. Imagine you work at Google, you help build one of the most powerful business machines on the planet, and then one morning you get an email. It says 2025 was great, but the pace is about to get electric. The stakes are high, and we need everyone to be all in on AI. If you're not enjoying this speed, there's the door with a severance check. And yes, this is not a hypothetical scenario. This is happening as we speak. Google is offering voluntary exit packages to its employees in its global business organization in the US. As of now, this is not a mass firing, at least not officially. It's being called a voluntary exit program, which means you leave and we will pay you. That's what Google is saying. The memo was sent by Google's chief business officer. He made it clear that AI is the future, and those who are not aligned with that future can walk out. The buyout is aimed at certain roles, like solutions team, sales roles, and corporate development. But here's the interesting part. Customer-facing sales teams are not eligible. Why? Because Google says it does not want disruption. It does not want its revenue engine affected. So how much money are we talking about? Google has not disclosed the exact package this time, but last year, employees reportedly received a similar buyout. And what did that include? At least 14 weeks of pay plus 1 extra week for every full year of service. So if you have been in Google for 10 years, that's potentially 24 weeks of pay for you, which is not bad. But here's the real question. Why is Google doing this? Why is it offering buyouts instead of layoffs? Well, that's because buyouts are cleaner. They reduce legal risks, they avoid regulatory complications, there are fewer bad headlines, and it allows companies to trim quietly. Usually buyouts come before layoffs. If people don't accept the buyout package, that's when the harsher cuts may follow. Think of it as a polite knock before the bulldozer. And this is not just a Google headline. In 2025 alone, more than 54,000 layoffs in the US were reportedly attributed to AI. 54,000 layoffs. Amazon cut tens of thousands of jobs. HP signaled thousands more reductions. Duolingo said it would stop using contractors for work that AI can handle. And Salesforce's CEO openly said that AI agents have reduced his need for staff. So the message was simple. AI is replacing humans. But economists are raising eyebrows. A major research firm says only 6% of American jobs will be automated by 2030. 6%, not 60, not 30, just 6% jobs will be automated. So what's really happening here? Well, welcome to the world of AI washing. It's a new term floating around. It's when companies attribute layoffs to AI efficiency, even if the real reasons are different. Say a company overhired, or it has to cut costs, or shareholder expectations are not being met. They will have to lay off people. But blaming cost cutting is not cool. Blaming AI, that's futuristic. If you say we overhired and need to protect margins, investors get nervous. So instead, companies are saying we will be leaner because of AI innovation. It sounds better. So what is this shift at Google about? You see, for years, Google sold a dream. Free food, flexible hours, build cool stuff. That's what you did there. But now the message is different. Move fast, think AI, or move on. The AI race right now is a sprint, and Google cannot afford to look slow. Their buyout strategy could be AI washing or a structural reset. But it also hints at something bigger. The era of big tech comfort is over. We are entering the era of big tech survival. India is hitting refresh on how it measures inflation. And this is not just a technical tweak, it affects everything from your home loan to the savings interest you earn from banks and the policies that government rolls out. The tool in question is called the Consumer Price Index, CPI. Policymakers use it to track how prices are moving. This index was last revised in the year 2012. The world has come a long way since. But the index still counted some outdated things. So it has been upgraded to reflect today's reality. The new list includes everything from nachos to Netflix, from fitness bands to pet food. Of course, it still tracks essentials like milk, rent, and medicine. The inflation data for last month, in fact, was calculated based on this new index. This data was released today. It showed inflation at 2.75% in the month of January. In December 2025, inflation was at 1.33%. So it has gone up. What does this change mean for you, and why does it matter? Here's a report.
India is changing the way it measures inflation. The government will use a new consumer price index. The base year has been updated to 2024 from 2012. This is not just a technical update. It will reshape how India understands its economy. And it could affect your home loan, your savings, and even government policy. The Consumer Price Index tracks the cost of living. It measures how much prices rise or fall over time. The Reserve Bank of India uses it to make critical decisions. Decisions on interest rates, borrowing costs, and deposit returns. So why is the base year being changed? Because economies evolve. Incomes rise, lifestyles shift, and spending priorities change. What people bought in 2012 is not what they buy in 2024. Without periodic updates, inflation numbers tell an outdated story. The Ministry of Statistics is overhauling three major economic indicators: GDP, the Index of Industrial Production, and the Consumer Price Index. The goal is simple: make sure official data reflects today's economy, not that of a decade ago. The biggest change is in the weight of food and beverages. In the old index, food accounted for 45.9% of the basket. In the new index, it drops to 36.8%. That is a sharp fall, and it signals a structural shift in how Indians spend. As incomes rise, households spend less on basic staples. They spend more on services, transport, communication, and healthcare. Restaurants, recreation, and personal care now carry greater weight. This reflects a more service-driven and urbanized consumption pattern. The new index also brings the digital economy into the data. For the first time, the CPI will track prices from 12 online markets. These are cities with populations above 25 lakh. It captures price variations on e-commerce platforms, a significant step toward reflecting how Indians increasingly shop. Rural house rent will now be included alongside urban rent. Services such as telecom and OTT subscriptions have been added. The revamped series will track 358 weighted items, 308 goods and 50 services across 1,465 rural and 1,395 urban markets. The new basket includes items that were irrelevant a decade ago: packaged snacks like nachos, wearable gadgets like fitness bands, personal care products such as sanitizers, gadgets including AirPods, even pet-related spending. Which products have been dropped? Items like VCR and DVD players, radios, tape recorders, second-hand clothing, CDs and video cassettes, and horse cart fares have been removed from the inflation basket. Despite the headline-grabbing additions, essentials still dominate. These are milk, fuel, medicines, housing costs, and cooked food. These continue to carry significantly larger weights than lifestyle items. Gold and silver jewelry will not see much change to its weight. So what does this mean for inflation readings? Retail inflation climbed to 1.3% in December from 0.7% in November. For 2025 as a whole, inflation averaged 2.2%, the lowest in 12 years. The revised series could alter how such trends are interpreted going forward. Inflation is not just a macroeconomic concept. It shapes borrowing costs, savings returns, and purchasing power. India's new CPI series is more than a statistical reset. It is an attempt to capture a transforming economy, one that is more urban, more service-oriented, and more digitally connected than it was in 2012.
Switzerland is debating a radical proposal, one that would put a ceiling on their population. Right now, the country has around 9 million permanent residents. The proposal is to cap it at 10 million. I know this sounds like an unconventional approach. Most Western countries are trying to boost their population, so why is Switzerland doing the opposite? Well, let's give you some background first. This proposal is being backed by the Swiss People's Party. It's a right-wing outfit in Switzerland. They secured more than 100,000 signatures in favor of this move, so the country will now hold a referendum. People will vote on the 14th of June. They will face one straightforward question. Should Switzerland cap its population at 10 million until 2050? Let's assume a majority vote yes. They should cap the population. What happens then? Broadly speaking, stricter immigration measures. That's what happens. Stricter immigration, especially once the population crosses 9.5 million. After that, permanent residency will become harder to get. Even European citizens will be stopped from entering. Now, this promises to be a flashpoint. Switzerland has an agreement with the European Union. It allows free movement of people between the two sides. If that is curbed, expect a fallout. But let's focus on the intent behind this move. Why is this vote being pushed? The argument is not against having more people. The argument is against having more migrants. The classic outsider versus insider debate. Supporters of this move say that migration is leading to overpopulation. It is driving up rents and diluting culture. And this is not limited to Switzerland. Right-wing parties across Europe are saying the same thing. They're blaming migration for economic and cultural issues. But do the numbers check out? Look at Switzerland. 69% of their population is ethnically Swiss. Around 12% come from other parts of Europe, 12% of the population. Like other parts like French, German, and Portuguese. Around 1.1% are Kosovan and 1% are Turkish. So the cultural dilution claim is a stretch. Same with religion. Only 6% of the Swiss population is Muslim. Nearly 33% have no beliefs, and the remaining are Christians. So where is the dilution? You may see headlines like Switzerland is becoming a Muslim country or Britain will implement the Sharia law. These are aimed at rallying the local population, and guess what? It works. In Switzerland, 48% of the people support capping the population. Around 41% oppose the idea. If you look across Europe, right-wing parties are surging, and their main election plank is the same. We will crack down on migration. Now, just to be clear, this is a choice for you to make. If a majority of Swiss want to cap the population, do it. If most Europeans want to stop immigration, do it. No country can tell you what to do. Having said that, you should be ready for the trade-off. Most of Europe has a falling birth rate. Their current population is 447 million. It is projected to shrink to 419 million by the year 2100, by the end of the century. And this is with migration. With migration, their population will shrink. If you cut off migration, Europe will have 295 million people by the year 2100. Meaning, Europe will be left with a bunch of old people. They cannot man factories, they cannot fight wars, and they cannot boost the economy. Without migration, around 36% of Europe's population will be 65 plus, dependent and less productive. Are you ready to make that trade-off? Are you ready to reduce or sacrifice growth for cultural homogeneity? If so, go ahead. And like I said, this is not an argument for open borders. This is an argument for logic. No country can grow without young, energetic people. You need a young, energetic population, and it does not matter how you get them. You can boost your own birth rates, you can invite migrants, you can host temporary workers, anything that works for you. But if you cut off all avenues, it's a slippery slope, a one-way ticket to a demographic and economic disaster. Our next story is from the United States, where Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is on yet another visit. Yesterday, he met President Donald Trump at the White House, but unlike their previous meetings, this one looked different. There were no cameras, no press conference, no joint public statements. Everything happened behind closed doors. The main focus of the meeting was Iran. Gaza too was on the table. And look at the timing. The US has just restarted talks with Tehran. This is over Tehran's nuclear program. The Americans are talking with them. So what was discussed with Netanyahu, and what does this mean for the region? Our next report tells you.
Behind closed doors at the White House, two allies met on Wednesday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Donald Trump sat down for nearly 3 hours. It was their 7th meeting since Trump returned to office in January 2025. But this time, the tone was different. There was no joint press appearance and no questions from reporters. Iran dominated the agenda. The US and Iran have restarted talks over Tehran's nuclear program. Israel fears those talks could lead to a limited deal, one that leaves too much unchecked. Netanyahu traveled to Washington hoping to influence the outcome. Before the meeting, he made his priorities clear.
I will present to the President our views regarding the principles of the negotiations, the important principles, and in my eyes they are important not only for Israel, but for anyone in the world who wants peace and security in the Middle East.
Israel wants more than nuclear limits. It is pushing for restrictions on Iran's ballistic missiles and demanding action on Tehran's support for militant groups. But after the meeting, Trump's position looked more cautious. He said nothing definitive had been agreed upon.
I insisted that negotiations with Iran continue to see whether or not a deal can be consummated. If it can, I let the Prime Minister know that will be a preference. If it cannot, we will just have to see what the outcome will be.
The comments highlight a gap in approach. Israel is urging a harder line. The United States is keeping diplomacy open, while at the same time maintaining pressure. The timing wasn't accidental. It came after Washington and Tehran restarted negotiations in Oman last week. Those talks followed last year's US strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. And it came as the US builds up its military presence in West Asia. Washington is now testing whether a new deal is possible. Tehran says it will discuss its nuclear program, but it has rejected demands to limit its missile capabilities.
We are not seeking nuclear weapons. We have stated this repeatedly, time and again, and we are ready for any kind of verification.
The subdued nature of the visit drew attention. Netanyahu entered and left without the usual public ceremony. There was no formal statement to reporters. That low profile suggests sensitive discussions happened behind the scenes. But beyond Iran, Gaza and the wider region were also discussed. Trump is promoting a new diplomatic forum called the Board of Peace. It is linked to the ceasefire efforts in Gaza, but Trump is now positioning it as an alternative to the United Nations. Netanyahu agreed to join the group during his visit. The move signals continued coordination between Washington and Tel Aviv. But it also shows that differences still remain. For now, negotiations between the US and Iran are likely to continue. Israel is pressing for tougher terms before any agreement is reached. Washington is weighing diplomacy against the risk of escalation, and the region is watching closely for what comes next.
Our next story is from Russia, where the government has just blocked WhatsApp. Millions of Russians use this messaging app daily, but now they cannot access it. Moscow says this is because Meta has violated Russian laws. Meta is the company that owns WhatsApp. It also owns Facebook and Instagram. Both of these platforms were banned in Russia in 2022, and now WhatsApp has joined the list. But here's the thing. These restrictions do not stop with WhatsApp. Telegram has also been restricted in Russia. Both these messaging apps are widely used in the country. So what is behind this move? Our next report explains.
For many Russians, it started with a simple tap. They opened WhatsApp like always, but this time the screen just stared back. No connection and no explanation. One of the country's most widely used messaging apps has been blocked. The Kremlin confirmed the move on Thursday, cutting of access for millions across the country. It says WhatsApp failed to comply with Russian law. Officials accuse its parent company, Meta, of refusing to follow local regulations.
Due to Meta Corporation's unwillingness to comply with the norms and letter of Russian law, such a decision was indeed made and implemented.
Russian law requires user data to be stored inside the country and that companies cooperate with security agencies. Authorities say companies must comply with these rules to keep operating. But this wasn't sudden. Russia has been at odds with Meta since the war in Ukraine began in 2022. It has labeled it a terrorist and extremist organization. Facebook and Instagram were banned soon after, but WhatsApp remained accessible until now. The messaging platform has more than 100 million users in Russia. The company has warned the block could reduce privacy and security, but the timing tells the real story. For months, authorities have been pushing Russians towards a domestic alternative. That platform is called Max. It's state-backed, state-promoted, and everywhere. Billboards and television advertisements have flooded the country, urging Russians to make the switch.
Max is an accessible alternative, a growing messaging app, a national messaging app, and it's a market-ready alternative for citizens.
Critics say Max, unlike WhatsApp, does not offer end-to-end encryption by default. And they argue the real goal is tighter control over online communications. And WhatsApp isn't alone. Telegram has also faced restrictions for alleged legal violations. So, the message is clear. Play by Moscow's rules or get out. But on the streets of the capital, the reaction is mixed. Some are angry.
I have a downright negative attitude toward this, of course, because it's partly a violation of our constitutional rights, because it's a restriction on freedom of choice.
Others say they are already moving on.
Yes, we're all already switching to Max. Rules are rules, and we need to adhere to them. If they require it, it's best not to make any moves that could lead to legal problems later on. That's the main thing.
Some say they will keep using WhatsApp through virtual private networks. Others expect to switch sooner or later. The government says this is about security and compliance. Critics say it is about surveillance and control. What is clear is that Russia's online space is changing. A familiar app has disappeared for millions. A state-backed alternative is taking its place. And the way Russians communicate online is being reshaped in real time.
North Korea may have just named its next supreme leader, and she is a teenager. Her name is Kim Joo-ae, and she is the daughter of Kim Jong-un. You may have seen her before, standing next to ballistic missiles, watching test launches, surrounded by generals in full uniform saluting her. She may take charge after her father, because in North Korea, power is passed down like a family heirloom. So every public appearance is a message. And South Korean intelligence believes that the message is clear this time. Kim Joo-ae is not just Kim's daughter, she is the designated successor.
Considering all of that, Kim's daughter's presence is increasingly becoming more prominent domestically, and that she is giving her direct opinions on some policies during her on-site inspections, we can say it's somewhat unusual that the expression used was that she was in a stage of being internally appointed successor from that she was in study as successor.
So who is Kim Joo-ae? For years, nobody even knew she existed. The first hint came from an unlikely source. Former NBA star Dennis Rodman. He visited Pyongyang in 2013. He casually mentioned that he had held Kim's baby daughter, Joo-ae. That was it. There was no talk about her after that until 2022. That's when a young girl appeared on North Korean state television. She was holding Kim Jong-un's hand, standing beside an intercontinental ballistic missile. Since then, she has been everywhere. Military parades, missile tests, banquets with generals, and visits to the Kumsusan Palace. That's where Kim's grandfather and father lie in state. She was even seen stepping off Kim's armored train. And in North Korea, such photos are not random. Every frame is propaganda. And in these frames, she's no longer walking behind Kim Jong-un. She walks beside him, sometimes even ahead of her father. That symbolism matters too. Seoul says she was being trained all these days, and now she has been formally designated. She has been named the heir. Some lawmakers say she is even offering inputs and giving her opinion on state policy. Remember, she's still a teen. By some estimates, she is about 13 years old. But why name her the successor right now? Kim is still in his early 40s. He does not look very ill. So what is the hurry? North Korea, as you know, is a dictatorship. It has been ruled by the Kim family since 1948. First, it was Kim Il-sung. Then his son, Kim Jong-il. And then his son, Kim Jong-un, the current leader. 3 generations have ruled North Korea. And the regime survives on what it calls the sacred bloodline, meaning only a Kim can rule the nation. So by introducing Joo-ae early, Kim is doing 3 things. 1, he is normalizing her presence. 2, he is preparing the elite psychologically for her leadership. And 3, he is locking in dynastic continuity. If something happens to him, if something happens suddenly, there will be no power vacuum. The bloodline continues. That's the idea. Also, North Korea is deeply patriarchal. Analysts long assumed that a son would take over. South Korea believes there may be an older son too, a son of Kim Jong-un. But he has never been seen or acknowledged publicly. So why choose Joo-ae? Why is she the chosen one? Perhaps because she is the one that Kim trusts the most. Perhaps because there is no son at all. Or if there is, he is not suitable or he is not well. So Kim Joo-ae may be the safest choice. And announcing her early gives the kingdom some time to get used to having a female ruler. It also makes you wonder how the Kim dynasty holds on to power. Across the world, regimes have risen and fallen in this time. Leaders lose power within days sometimes. But the Kim family has stayed on as North Koreans continue to struggle. How have they managed to do that? By doing 4 things. First is brutal repression. The Kim dynasty crushes dissent early. Kim Jong-un executed his own uncle in 2013. Hundreds of officials have been purged over the years. Reactionary speech is a crime in North Korea. So even complaining about the regime can cost your life. The second thing they do is military control. This is a country of roughly 26 million people. It has around 1.3 million active duty soldiers. That's about 5% of the entire population. And military service lasts nearly a decade. It's not just about weapons, it's also ideological training. Loyalty to the Kim family is drilled in. The military is the spine of the regime. You control the military and you control the country. 3. Nuclear weapons. North Korea is believed to have nuclear weapons, and that deters invasion by foreign powers. It prevents regime change from outside. And 4. Isolation and indoctrination. From childhood, North Koreans are taught that the Kim family is sacred, the outside world is hostile, hardship is normal, independent thought is cut early, media is controlled, and the internet is restricted. Even then, despite all of this, there have been attempts to dethrone them. There have been assassination plots. Kim Jong-un has apparently survived multiple such attempts, which is why he has a big security entourage. When he took power in 2011, many had hoped for change. After all, this was a Western-educated young leader, so many thought he will reform the country. As it turned out, he did not. Will his daughter be different? If history is any guide, Kim Joo-ae may not be a break from the system that empowers her. She may simply be its next caretaker. What would you do if you won a medal at the Olympics? You would celebrate, you would cry in joy. But a Norwegian athlete used this moment to apologize to an ex. He turned the medal ceremony into couples therapy. He said he had a gold medal, aka his girlfriend. He lost that by cheating on her. And now he's apologizing on live TV. He tells you how some people will do anything but go to therapy. But the internet burst into memes. Take a look at this. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. A large sinkhole appears in Shanghai during the construction of a metro line. Violence erupts in Buenos Aires as activist groups protest against a labor reform bill. And animals in a US zoo get into Valentine's spirit with gifts. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1996, Yasser Arafat took office as the first Palestinian president. He was a towering figure for Palestinian statehood. His death in the year 2004 left a void in the movement that is yet to be filled. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إخواني أصحاب المعالي،
He rebuilt Egypt's pride after defeat. He turned victory into legitimacy. Then he chose peace with Israel. He broke an Arab consensus. He challenged his own military. He silenced his critics at home. But then, one day, on a national parade ground, in front of cameras, in front of the world, gunmen stepped forward and killed Anwar Sadat. It changed Egypt overnight. The assassination, Saturday at these times, only on Firstpost.